apologize.
No, I know where you're headed. Look, they're kings of the North. Let's face it.
Yep.
No, they're not vulnerable. And we were talking about it yesterday, and the Packers were 13-3, and it's funny, like, you don't think about that about the Packers because we just think about how they exited in the playoffs and how, yet again, it was a team with a ferocious front that took them out. The year before, it was the 49ers. They couldn't block Bosa and company, and they couldn't stop the run game. So I look at the Packers and I say, all right, well, how do they get over the hump? Well, the thing that made them vulnerable in the postseason was just their lack of depth at the tackle position. Ricky Wagner was banged up all year long. When David Bakhtiari went down, when he tore his ACL in practice, that basically sealed their fate in the postseason because he's been one of the best left tackles in the league for the last few years. One of the best pass-blocking left tackles in the league for the last few years. And that had an impact on Aaron Rodgers. You could see it. He didn't have the same comfort level. Billy Turner slid out the left tackle and tried his best to hold up. And we saw JPP take advantage of him in the NFC Championship game. I firmly believe if Bakhtiari had been playing in that game, that's a different game. Because on those sacks, when Aaron Rodgers was sacked on those plays, he had guys open. He had chances for a big play and just couldn't get the ball out. So I look at this team. They're the best team in that division, absolutely. They're still wearing that crown. And until you can find a way to keep up with AR and what they've been doing offensively, it's their division.
Best team by far. Like it's not even close, and no disrespect to a couple of my former teams, Detroit Lions and Minnesota Vikings. I mean, they were 13-3. The closest record was 8-8. So no other team had a winning record in that division. Aaron Rodgers playing lights out. And you think about the relationship with Matt LaFleur. You mentioned Strager in the last segment. You used the phrase "scratching the surface" in reference to Hunter Henry and what he's done in his career. That relationship between Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, they're just scratching this. What has it been, 2 seasons?
Yeah.
2 seasons. First year, they have an incredible record. They get beat up by the 49ers in the playoffs. Last season, Aaron Rodgers is the league MVP.
Yeah.
And I will say, as a guy who played against Aaron Rodgers, that was the best football I've ever seen him play.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now imagine that moving forward, going into your 3rd season. Now that list is a little concerning. When you're looking at Aaron Jones, I feel like he's a big-time running back, and they take him for granted. They need to bring him back. I'm not sure if he's going to stay there for a hometown discount. But in this time that they have these playmakers, and mainly I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, they need to take advantage of that duo because I'm pretty sure when it's time for Davante to get paid, if the Packers won't pay him, he will be leaving. That is for sure. But as far as being vulnerable, no, vulnerable, the definition is susceptible to physical or emotional attack. No physical attack in the division, in NFC North. Nobody can play with them. Emotional? Maybe because they've been close with no cigar over the last couple seasons, and you know that fatigue starts to kick in where you just can't break through that ceiling to get to the big game.
Yeah, and Merriam-Webster on us, huh?
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Got to educate the people, Shaun.
I actually really like that they've been the aggressor, too. And nothing against Mike Pettin, but what happened in that playoff game and Scotty Miller at the end of the first half, somehow, some way, being able to beat the defense.
Oh, yeah.
At the end.
That was crucial.
This was it. This was it for that game. They had to dig out of a huge hole, and to be gut punched like this going into halftime, and Brady having all the motivation and all the energy and all the momentum. This game was
about 6 seconds left, Sherry?
6 seconds left. There was 1 second left when he scored it. And the game was on NFL Network yesterday, and because I've got such an active social life, I was watching it on NFL Network yesterday in the afternoon, rewatched the game.
Can't believe Paw Patrol wasn't on.
Yeah, you completely feel the pendulum swing, and it's like that was it. So instead of just sitting on their hands and being like, all right, well, let's get him next year, look, Packers fired Mike Pettin. They didn't bring him back. They're like, you're out, dude. Like 13-3, 2 years in a row. This is what we're doing. And Joe Barry comes in, and he's the new defensive coordinator. And Joe Barry's not an internal hire. Joe Barry was with the Rams the last several years, 3 years with the Rams. Since McVay's gotten there, he's been the assistant head coach, coaches linebackers. When he was with Washington, he was with LaFleur under Jay Gruden's staff. So Joe Barry comes in. It's a totally different feel. It's a totally different defense. He gets there, and his specialty is linebacker play and accountability. Gotten to know Joe Barry over the last few years with him being with the Rams. I think he's a great coach. He hasn't been a defensive coordinator since 2015. He's coming in there, and he's got to make a difference because, to me, Rodgers did everything he could. The line, there's all these issues. How do you let Scotty Miller go deep? Mike Pettin paid the price for that.
Yeah. Well, can I just jump on that? Because I hate that Mike Pettin is falling on the sword for that. Because if you're Kevin King, you know damn well what you can't give up.
Players to blame.
Play. Guess who's a free agent? Kevin King. So they may be washing their hands of all of that. But Mike Pettin, I mean, for him to take heat for that, to me, is just blasphemy as a player of Kevin King's caliber.
I feel you on that.
Man, I gotta know. I'm looking at the clock. I know what they're trying to do. I know why they can't give up. You want to throw a 5-yard curl,
hit the field goal,
button hooker outright? Like, look, I'm not falling for that one.
Hey,
I'm running deep.
Mike Pettin lost his job over there.
Yeah, so did Greg Williams.
Yeah. Well, Mike Pettin was on a 13-3 team. Greg Williams didn't win a game.
Yeah.
So
defensive coordinator getting fired on a 13-3 team. That's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
That's wild. Somebody has to go, though. That's the business.
Yeah. One was ego. One was arguably just not real smart.
Or just one play.
Yeah.
That was it.
Absolutely. Well, it's been quiet so far this offseason for the team that finished just behind the Packers in the North. What can the Bears do to take over the division? Let's start with Nate.
Get Watson.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and hit you with all kinds of...
So you're trading Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky for Deshaun Watson?
And maybe another player, too.
Yeah.
I got to keep it real with you.
It might need to be Allen Robinson if you decide.
Might be 10 years of drafts.
Yeah, so, you know, do what you have to do. Not only do they need a superstar player like Watson, you just need some excitement. When was the last time we were excited about the Chicago Bears? Now, we got juiced up when Khalil Mack came, but I think we all were very clear that Khalil Mack is a game-changing talent, but he can't win you games alone. So for me, go ahead and get Deshaun Watson and help change the culture in Chicago.
I think it's really hard, right? I mean, I'm 100% with you, but I'm going to double down on it and say, just almost like YOLO at this point for the Bears. Like, give everything and be really active in free agency and draft. I know a lot of people say you don't win a championship in free agency. If you're the Bears, Ryan Pace is back for another year. Matt Nagy's back for another year. The local tabloid said that one of the two might not be back. Two of the two might not be back. It almost feels like, all right, it's now or never for both of those guys in the organization. And this team was anemic when they needed him most, the offense especially. So Trubisky, a lot of talk is that he might actually be back if they don't make a big play. I think the Bears have to make a play. So, Nate, to your point, and Shaun, that was very flippant, and like, you know, Foles, and it's not going to be Foles Trubisky. It's going to be like a decade's worth of draft picks, maybe Khalil Mack, maybe Roquan Smith. But I think they should be picking up the phone and offering it all. Go try to get Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Nate. I think it's not that off an idea to say, we only live once. I'm an NFL GM. Here's my roster. Take whatever you want. We want Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, you know, if you're a Bears fan right now, I mean, you're begging for something. Give us something to cling to. And, you know, Coach Brian Billick, who I love dearly, and I did a ton of shows with him, he used to always say, it's funny, the things they hire you for are the things they are going to fire you for. And, you know, it's so prophetic because when you look at Matt Nagy, they hired him for his offense, and yet the offense has been offensive. Like, they can't score points. And so the bad football, if we want to talk about how do the Chicago Bears get relevant in the North, how about stop beating yourself? How about stop doing that? Interceptions. How about stop missing wide open wide receivers? All right, Nick Foles, it's not his fault. He overthrows Darnell Mooney on a go route. Yeah. He's getting blasted because somebody didn't pick up the blitzer. So it's been bad offensive football. And on the other side of the football, they're the monsters of the Midway. I mean, they are ferocious. They're taking people out, and the defense is over there and sipping their Gatorade, looking like Kermit the Frog, like, y'all gonna show up?
Right.
What's going on? What's the problem? They're getting the stink eye from the defense.
That's right.
And it's all because of the offense. They've got to score points.
Yeah, and they made a mistake at quarterback. I mean, sorry, they just did. You can't make a mistake when you're drafting in the top 5 and pick a quarterback. You can't, because you pay for it forever, or, you know, you trade him and eat $1 gazillion in dead money. But guys, I'm gonna take Nate's idea and ramp it up, because I think the Bears not only need to get Deshaun Watson, they would need to franchise or retain Allen Robinson in order to really be a contender in the North. I honestly think that's what it would take, and I know you're giving stuff away to Houston if you get Deshaun, and I'm not so sure Deshaun's going anywhere. And how would I know?
It would be hard to convince Allen Robinson to take the franchise, right? But if they brought in level today, I'm going to take you inside the film room, and I'm going to show you why all of Devontae's skills will translate and why we should be talking about him as a top 5 pick in the draft.
Whoa.
Hey, let's get this thing going. Routes. All right, right at the top, route running and after the catchability. He's going to explode outside. He's going to choose an edge, and then he puts that foot in the ground like he's taking a stand. And watch how he comes back to the ball. You have to track the ball and come back to it. Catches with his hands. This is beautiful, though, Schrags. Pay attention to his helmet. Watch how he's looking at the inside defender. And look, right here, he's surrounded by 3 guys. He's saying, I want to cross the field and go to the other side. He sees a linebacker creeping. Watch how he quickly retracts. Watch his head go back and field. Watch this. Inside sees a linebacker. Watch his helmet. Boom.
That's cool.
You see how fast he finds the lane he needs to. He says, you know what? I want to go out the back door.
That's like a running back.
I see that big fella coming along. That might be a lineman taking my head off. So let me get my helmet right upfield quickly, almost like a cat, seeing that small space, gaining a few extra yards and not taking that big hit. Okay, releases and nuances. Here we are again. This is a stop route, a little bit of a comeback or curl, but watch how he chooses an edge once again. And he's going to explode upfield. He dips down, almost falls down, but he sails that go route. Now, here's the thing. We have great coverage by the DB on this one, but what do I say? Keep coming back to the ball. The route isn't done at the top. You have to still track it. Underneath, you have another DB. What does he do? Don't catch it with your hands. This is awareness right here. You catch it with your hands, that DB will karate chop, ball's coming out, it's an incomplete pass. Trap it with your body. These are the subtleties of playing the wide receiver position. Coming back to the ball, he says, you know what? Let me trap this because I'm going to take a hit.
Finish.
You're going to have to come through me in order to make a catch. All right, so he's going to catch it with his body like he's catching the Holy Ghost.
You can do it, put your back into it.
Put your back into it, you can do it. All right, now let's keep this thing red zone. All right, so you say, all right, he can run routes from 20 to 20, but can he do it in the red zone where it's tight spaces? Yes, he can.
Outside leverage right there.
Pay attention to his helmet. Outside leverage is tough to run a corner route. He says, you know, I'm going inside. If the quarterback puts this where I need it to, helmet or higher, I'll go up and get it.
Tell you what.
Look at his
That's
hand.
a great throw.
This is
Great
like
throw from Mac Jones.
That's a great throw.
Exactly. Mac Jones, a beautiful throw. You have the DB with his hand basically on the ball.
What do you call that, Nate?
He goes up, helmet or higher. That's a little toe jack swag. Helmet or higher, snatches it with his hands, gets the feet down. And the DB says, no, that's not a catch. Devontae says, I know it's a catch because I know where I was on the field. All right, so now he did a post corner or corner there. Watch, you're going to see a post corner here. All right, so Ralph, Devontae goes inside. Look at his helmet, though. His helmet is beautiful to me because he keeps his helmet straight. You never know if he's running a go route, an out route, an in route, and then he breaks to the post, and right here, he's going to track the ball. A little bit of a push-off, but they're both doing some push and stuff. And once again, he looks inside to sail the post. DB doesn't necessarily bite, but he goes up, climbs the ladder, and catches it with one hand. Talk about aggressive at the point of attack. This is the 50-50 ball right here. So all of the time, the coach is saying, Nate, I need you to be the guy that makes it 80-20 instead of 50-50. If you're going up with the DB, I need you to get it most of the time. Right there, he blows the kiss like he's blowing past DBs.
It's like an OBJ catch right there.
That's right. Another tight space. Look at his helmet. You see his eyes? His eyes are looking directly at the DB.
Yep.
What does that tell the DB?
Yep.
I don't know where this guy's going. He might cross my face. So what does the DB do? He widens the stance. Once he widens the stance, you can cross his face and go out instead of going in. And then right here, you're running an out route down to the pylon. You have to come downhill. Because a really good DB in the NFL, he's going to come flat down the line, pick that off, and take that thing 99 yards. But no, Devontae understands if I come downhill, I can beat him to the pylon, get my feet down. That right there is a toe jack swag and a catch. He knows once again, another touchdown for the wide receiver. All right, the last route I'm going to show you. Can he go over the top of the defense? Because there's questions, all right? I mean, what is he going to run, like a 4.5? I don't know if he's high 4.4. Doesn't matter. Dude's fast with pads on. And that just means he's a football player.
Game speed.
Here you have a little bit of a scissor route, and this is a deep pick play. He's actually going to run into the DB on the top side, and you talk about, oh, he's slight. I don't know if he can keep up or keep his body upright when he's taking shots. Listen, he bumps into a DB here, still keeps his feet, and the wide receiver on the outside comes open, but Mac Jones is like, I see Devontae wide open, catches it smooth with his hands. The dude is as smooth as butter. You continue to talk about his wide reframe. You continue to talk about the amount of reps that he has had in college. All I will tell you, doesn't matter how skinny he is, as long as he's physical and run routes, as well as anybody you've seen coming into the draft. And secondly, the fact that he decided to stay in college and tune up all of the small details and be better at the craft of route running, it's all about reps. If I'm a team that's looking for a guy to go in the top 5, maybe even top 3, I'm looking at Davante Adams.
Wow.
Because there isn't
Devontae
many things.
Smith.
Devontae Smith.
Yep.
Sorry.
I'm saying Davante Adams because he damn near
Hey,
reminds
they're
me
looking at him
Devontae
too.
Adams. But what it is
The Jets, maybe.
you want a guy that has reps. You're not going to have to do a lot of teaching with this kid. I don't want to call him kid, this young man. And that's why he will be top 5, maybe even top 3 in the NFL draft.
Yeah, last year when it was Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs coming out of Alabama, a lot of the scouts said, Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle are even better. Like, that's next year's crop, and they're both going to be in the draft. And yet, Nate, I'm watching these highlights. He's not built like a CeeDee Lamb. He's not built like a Calvin Johnson. He's not your traditional. That's the key thing that the GMs have to decide here. This guy, he might be 100 what? What do you think? I mean,
$165.
I mean, that is not a big receiver.
75.
And nor was Henry Ruggs. And nor was some of the other speedsters. We've seen guys like John Ross go in the top 10, and we've seen other, but he is a lot more polished than a John Ross. I think he's a lot more polished than Henry Ruggs with the route running. I'm fascinated to see what happens with his draft stock, because Jamar Chase, the kid out of LSU, who's the other top wide receiver, he's built and does the things that maybe you expect a top 5 wide receiver to look like out of the gates. I'm not knocking Devontae Smith. He can go as high as number 2 to the Jets or number 3 to the Dolphins. We'll see what the NFL thinks about his frame.
It's interesting. I can't help but fall back to the quote. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog.
Yep.
And you mentioned Henry Ruggs, not a big guy, made a huge impact for the Raiders this year. Super athletic. We actually showed some of his basketball hoop skills and highlights. But when you look at Devontae Smith, I look at with the ball in the air, what does he do? Man, he's a fighter. He's fighting for that ball. And the body control, Nate, you know this better than anybody. As a wide receiver, you have to adjust. It's not a perfect throw. I mean, as a receiver, you just have to be ready. Where's that ball going to be? And his ability to adjust and fight for those balls and make those catches, that's impressive. You look at a young kid coming out of Alabama, like you said.
Yeah.
This dude's NFL ready.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's being coached by some of the best. And they just added a couple of NFL coaches in Bill O'Brien as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look at it. I get it that it's not the size of the dog. It's the fight. I get it. If he weighs 165, guys, I know you have to catch him to hit him. I understand all of it.
Deshaun Jackson was like 175.
So it was a second-round pick.
So,
yeah. Well, listen, I just looked it up. It says 175, and you know they always add about 10 pounds.
With him, they're adding.
Maybe he is $160, $170. But I'll say this: there's a couple of guys that come into mind. AJ Green early on in his career. Very skinny.
6'4", though.
Very skinny.
He's a bigger guy, though.
And String Green.
Yeah, after the him showing that he was durable, we stopped thinking about how light he was.
Yeah.
And then you look at Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson's not the biggest receiver in the world, and he was cooking with the Vikings. And one more guy, I'll throw his name out there, and we all said he was too thin to play this position. Lamar Jackson. We've been waiting for
a quarterback.
He's going to take more hits than Devontae Smith. If Lamar Jackson can play the quarterback position for 3 years and not have one major injury, you don't think Devontae Smith can run routes in the NFL?